Hi everybody, Patrick here from EngineeringShock.com, Engineering Shock Electronics. This is the assembly video for the Raspberry Pi without the Raspberry Pi. So, this is how your board will come. It's already got the FTDI headers. I needed that for programming. All these surface mount components are connected. First thing you're going to want to do is find in your kit a 2-pin header and your two 9-pin headers. Now we're going to solder our two 9-pin headers here, 2-pin header here, two 8-pin headers here, one 8-pin header here, and one 3-pin header here. And the easiest way to do that is, in the case of the 9-pin headers, is to put them both in on the right, put a jumper on to keep them together, hold it with one hand. You can hold it like that, right, with your nail, so it's flush. Get a little bit of solder on one pin. Make sure it's in place, then put it down, solder all the remaining pins, making sure that there's no shorts. You do the same with the 8-pin header. Don't forget to remove the jumper when you're done. Do the same with the 8-pin header, or the two 8-pin headers. Then you've got a single 8-pin header here, again a 3-pin header here, 2-pin header here. In the case of, say, the 3-pin header, what you want to do is put it in, use your nail, hold it in place, tack it down with a little bit of solder, and then solder the rest, and then refinish the tacked on solder bit. So let me solder those into place, and then we will do the 3-pin terminal block. While we're here, let's take a jumper, place it on the rightmost 2 pins of this 3-pin header so that we can power it using USB. If you want to use the 5-volt jack, you use the leftmost pins, but in this case we want to short the middle and right for USB. So in the case of the 3-pin header, or sorry, terminal block, there's a plastic side, there's a terminal side. Terminal side faces the outside of the board. I hold it down with one hand, tack it down with some solder, make sure that it's flush, solder the remaining 2 pins, and then finish up the tacked on solder joint. In the case of the two 6-pin headers, they look a little wonky. Don't worry about it. You want them one on the left and one on the right, and there should be 4 holes left in the middle. Solder those into place, making sure that they're at 90 degrees. Following the same method. Tack one pin, make sure that it's sitting right, and then solder the rest, and fix the tacked up pin. Make sure there are no shorts, or else your LCD is not going to work. So let's solder that all into place, and we'll move on next to the buzzer, and the motion sensor, and the 5-volt jack. Okay, the buzzer has a long pin and a short pin. On the top here, it's actually labeled plus, but if you look on the back, there's a long pin and a short pin. Long pin goes in the bottom, there's a little plus sign. Short pin goes in the top. Hold it down, tack one pin, solder the other pin, and then fix up the tacked pin. The 5mm jack, nice, I referred to it earlier as a 5-volt jack, it's a 5mm jack. You can use up to 7.5 volts safely on this. You got to push it in a little bit. Once it's flush and in there, solder it in the back. You shouldn't need to hold it down, it'll hold itself in place. And then there's the motion sensor. The motion sensor has a little notch in it, and from the top view, or where it sits, there's a little notch in the lower right hand corner. Straighten up the pins, line everything up. It only goes in one way. So once it's in, carefully tack it. Actually, what I suggest you do is you take the included Fresnel cap. Yours could be white or it could be black. Put it on, fit it in, and that's easier to hold. Tack one pin, solder the other 2, cut the leads, and then fix the tacked up pin. So let's solder those into place. Next we'll do the microphone, crystal oscillator, and the light sensor. Crystal oscillator for 12 megahertz crystal oscillator goes right here in this slot. It doesn't matter, it's bidirectional, doesn't matter which way it goes in. Place it down, make sure it's flush, tack one lead, solder the other, click the leads, and then refinish up the tacked lead. The light sensor goes right here, doesn't matter the orientation. It goes in, have it about 6/10 of an inch above the board, bend the leads in the back so they don't fall out, turn it around, solder the 2 wires, cut the leads. The microphone, a little bit more difficult. You need good eyes or a magnifying glass. When you look at the look at it, there's little traces that connect one pin, in this case is this pin, to the outer shell. Little traces, that's the negative. So you want this pin being the negative with the little traces connecting back here. You can actually take a resistance tester, a continuity tester, and you can test between this pin and the outside, and if you're correct, it should be 0 ohms or continuity. Anyway, you want the negative wire, the shell wire, with the traces connecting to the bottom facing the light sensor, and the positive, which is the opposite pin, facing the top. And it shouldn't be this difficult to get it in. There you go. There's the light sensor. So hold it in place, tack one wire, solder the other wire, cut both leads, and then fix up the tacked wire. The relay only fits in one way. Place it in, make sure it's flush. Now it's not going in, and it's because this wire is out a bit. There we go. Flush. Tack one wire. Double check it's still flush. Solder the rest, and then clean out the first tacked wire. So now that we're done that, what we can do is we can install our LCD. So the kit will come with 8 of these little M3 screws. Take a small screwdriver. What you're going to need to do is actually, the holes are slightly small, so what you need to do is press it in just a little bit. Find a screwdriver that suits. I'm actually using a flathead for this because it works. I find it works better. And what you want to do is just screw it into place. Screw it all the way through until it's the other side. And when it's through the other side, put your standoff on. It just screws right on. Make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, we're almost done. So I got my last standoff right here. The screws are tight, but they do screw in. They just need some patience. So those are screwed in. You can remove this if you'd like. It's up to you. What I want to do now is a couple things. I want to take 8 jumpers, just because you're going to do this at some point. All of the project videos have an LCD. So we're going to connect the LCD header with 8 headers. A bunch of headers left over for other things, so don't worry. Plug them all in. Every single one. There are 8 in total. And once you're done, if you have an old toothbrush, like even a dollar store toothbrush, and some rubbing alcohol, the higher concentration the better. I've got 70%, which isn't great, but it's not bad. I used it on all of the boards that I soldered here. You can take a toothbrush with some rubbing alcohol and give the back a scrub. Don't worry about electrical. Just give it a bath if you want. You don't have to. It's just kind of unsightly with all the solder marks. So I got some alcohol, a toothbrush, and I'll give it a nice liberal scrub. And there might be some residue left over, but it won't be anywhere close to all the flux. See, what I'm doing is cleaning off all the flux. Leave it like this for 5-10 minutes, and it'll clean itself up. So don't worry too much about it. Again, that's optional. You don't need to do it. But now what we want to do is we want to take our LCD out and place it in here, so that the left 6 pins and the right 6 pins are in. Make sure that they actually are in, because sometimes it looks like they're in, but they're actually behind. So put it in. The holes should line up pretty closely. Take the remaining 4 screws, place one here, 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 and here, and we are done. So that's it. Now, assuming you've connected, or you've gotten the CH340G driver installed, you should plug it in, and you should detect it right away. Keep in mind, you don't need to use this for the included projects. You can use this as your own standalone Arduino if you'd like. I'll talk about a hardware video. I'll be doing a hardware video a little bit later. I've still got 5 more videos to do, main videos to do. Then I'll do a hardware video so you can really see the nuts and bolts of this thing. So thanks for watching. If some troubleshooting, if you want, right before you power it for the first time, make sure that the alcohol is dry. Check for shorts. Good if you have a magnifying glass. Make sure nothing is shorted, especially the headers. And yeah, pretty easy to put together. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for your support with this campaign.